I'm really excited to introduce you to our speakers today. Dominique Greene is the Director of Business Development at American Express. Dominique manages a team responsible for a portfolio of North American network bank partners with a focus on designing market-leading product and marketing strategies in collaboration with her partners. Dominique joined American Express in 2011 as an MBA summer intern, and she now leads the inclusion and diversity team for Global Network Services North America. She's also an active member of Amex's Hispanic Colleague Engagement Network called HOLA. And she also holds a Master's of Business Administration from New York University Stern School of Business, a Bachelor of Arts from Boston College. She is a Los Angeles resident and lives there with her husband and 2 children. So welcome, Dominique. She's going to be joined by Melissa Contreras, who is an analyst in U.S. campus recruiting for Amex. She began her career in higher education, supporting students through graduate business programs at Columbia University and the University of Rochester. Prior to joining American Express, Melissa recruited top campus talent for Ernst & Young. Melissa holds a bachelor's degree from Hofstra University and a master's degree from Teachers College, Columbia University. Outside of work, Melissa enjoys spending time on her Peloton bike and outdoor activities with her family. So welcome to Dominique and Melissa. I'm really excited to turn the stage over to you two. Let me know when you're ready to have me join you, and we'll tackle some audience questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Meg. Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with you all today to talk a little bit about my experience at American Express and specifically around changes to the way that we work and this new virtual environment and some of the insights that I've learned throughout the past year and a half in pivoting in the way that we work. And as Meg mentioned, I'm joined by my colleague, Melissa, who will be talking a little bit later about careers at American Express. So with that, we can jump in. I know Meg shared some of this information on me in my intro, but a few other tidbits of insight. So I moved to New York to pursue my MBA at NYU, and I've been there for the past 10 years. And then about a year ago, moved back to my home base of Los Angeles to be closer to family. Throughout my time at Amex, throughout my 10 years at the company, I've held roles across strategic partnerships and business development across the company, but with partnerships being the common thread. It's something I'm really passionate about. In addition, I really love mentoring others. I'm very invested in fostering a culture of inclusivity and diversity at Amex and in my business unit, which is why I lead the team for our group. And I have stayed at Amex for the past 10 years because I love the company. I really enjoy working with the people that I get to work with every day. It really is one of the main reasons why I am happy to come to work each day. A very collaborative culture, which we'll talk a little bit about. And then finally, I truly feel that the company backs me and invests in me from a professional growth standpoint. So really excited to be here representing Amex today. So with that, just a quick agenda. I'll cover some thoughts around pivoting to this virtual work environment and some thoughts I have on that. And then we'll go into just a few top tips I have to really be what I've called a virtual superstar, how to be super effective in your role virtually and to build your career virtually. And then I'll hand it over to Melissa to talk about careers at American Express. So with that, we can get started. I want to first paint a picture for what the American Express office culture was like before COVID hit. So if you can imagine, American Express has a tall 50-floor office building in Lower Manhattan where we occupy the majority of the building. And the culture is really very much a relationship-driven culture. And so we also describe ourselves as a matrixed organization where you really need to collaborate and work with others to get your job done. And so the office design really fosters that environment. There's open tables with different stations. There are not cubicles in the building anymore. And so really designed to encourage brainstorming and just a constant collaboration. Additionally, we are very much a coffee chat culture. So you're encouraged to go meet other people from across the business to learn about different areas of the business, different functions you might be curious about, grabbing a coffee, having those one-on-one connections with colleagues. Also, like many other companies, we're accustomed to many in-person meetings and events. Being on a customer-facing team, I constantly was traveling to visit clients in person and have our meetings, in person. And then, all of this comes together and just the energy you feel when you enter the office. There's just an energy when you step into what we call the tower of being an American Express colleague and feeling a part of this larger mission and organization. So as we all know too well, come March of last year, things changed very quickly and the company had to pivot extremely quickly to a 100% remote environment. And so just to put this into perspective, we have thousands of customer care representatives that are available 24 hours a day globally to support our card members and merchant customers globally. And so the company had to quickly pivot to set up those representatives and all colleagues across Amex to be able to work successfully from home. That was a large undertaking that Amex really did quite quickly and very effectively. Additionally, from a goals perspective, our executive leadership very quickly shifted the focus and the primary goal of the company to ensuring the safety and security of all colleagues. I think that really is a testament to the culture of Amex and the concept of backing our customers and our colleagues, that making sure that everyone was safe and secure was the top priority first and foremost above any business goal. And then, everyone was navigating this new normal, both at work in terms of trying to engage virtually, but also at home, having this collapsing of your personal life and your work life. And for some, including myself, having young children at home, or some people were caregivers, and trying to manage that time was challenging. And so Amex had to think about offering flexibility there. And then as everyone went through, there were adjustments to work-life balance. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but without having your commute to the office, there wasn't a clear start or end to one's workday. And also we lost all of those social elements that are thankfully slowly coming back, but life became very, very narrow. And so there was a lot of adjustment that I know we all went through. And so what I like to think about and what I'll talk about today is knowing that we've just been through this unprecedented experience that was tremendously difficult for everyone. What are some of those learnings and insights that we can carry through in the future to be more effective in our work and in developing our careers in a new way? I think, we'll never fully return to the new normal because we're all changed from this experience we went through. So how do we use those insights to drive positive change? And so I think about working virtually and doing so effectively in 3 different ways. And I'll talk about each of these in depth, but the first is around your job and getting your job done effectively. And that's really table stakes, right? Like how do you be super effective in your role, knowing that there's all these nuances to being a virtual colleague? The next is around building your own personal brand and the changes that, being remote and in a virtual environment have driven and how you champion your own personal brand. And finally, your own professional development. So how do you continue to develop and grow professionally to reach your career goals? And so I'll go into each of these and some of the insights that I've picked up or tips. So first, focusing on your work. I think that, I talked a little bit earlier about just the changes in dynamics of not having a clear start and end to your workday. Also, you no longer were walking to different meetings. And so I find common to just be on back-to-back calls because it's so easy to just jump off one call and hop on another. So I found that it's really important to have to manage my calendar with clear intention. And so what does this mean? There's a few things to this. So I would say first is making sure that you are protecting your work-life balance by having a clear start and end to your day. What is it that can be a signal that at the end of the day, you're going to close your laptop and go for a walk or or go pick up your kids from school or whatever it is, to have that clear delineation from your work day and your personal day. I think that's really important to avoid burnout, really. I also think it's critical to schedule that thinking time. So schedule working blocks throughout your week to give yourself an hour here or there. I mean, I really try to block an hour a day if I can, to have solid thinking time, so that I'm not just, so that I have that time to really think about my goals and how am I going to reach them, and taking a step back from the day-to-day meetings. And then finally, I love this idea of an intermission. So, again, in the non-virtual world, we would walk to different meetings. You might hop in an elevator to go to a different floor. And so that is, a nice time to reset and get prepared mentally for your next meeting. So I think buffering in an intermission is so important. What does that mean? I have now taken all of my hour-long meetings and I make those 45-minute meetings. My 30-minute meetings are now 25-minute meetings. And then you have that extra 5 or 15 minutes to shoot out an email as, whatever the next steps were from the meeting you were in. Take care of that so that it's not bogging down your to-do list, and get those things done to reset for your next conversation. The second thing that I think about is really over communicating. So when you're in the office, I could pop into my leader's office and give her a quick update on a conversation I might have had with a client, or go over to my team and check in on how they're doing, and see if they need any support. So I think it's really important to over communicate now that we've lost some of those casual organic interactions. So I'm constantly either slacking or emailing my leader, giving her quick updates on conversations or new insights I've learned that might impact our business, checking in on my team, and making sure they're good. I mean, honestly, from a culture standpoint, it was so bizarre to, on Monday mornings, maybe not talk to anyone till the end of the day, depending on if I had a call with them. So I make it a concerted effort to send them a Slack saying like, hey, everyone, good morning. I hope you had a nice weekend, and just maintain that connection. And I think over communicating is really key. This goes hand in hand with being proactive. So again, like being very proactive and intentional about this over communication and scheduling those regular touch bases. So I have time with all of my key partners and different colleagues that I might work with on a infrequent basis, just to keep in touch and continue to build that rapport, since I'm not running into them anymore. Another tip that somebody shared with me that has been super helpful is blocking time on Monday mornings for an hour from 9 to 10 a.m. and then Friday afternoons for 1 to 2 hours to set myself up for success at the beginning of the week and wrap up my week. So in the beginning of the week, I think about what are those 2 to 3 things that I want to make sure that I get done this week or in the next 2 weeks. What are those strategic goals that are going to help me reach my longer term goals for my job that I want to get done? And then I look at my calendar and I say, okay, are the meetings that I have scheduled setting myself up for success in achieving these goals? If so, great. If not, how can I rework my calendar to make sure that I am leaving myself time and meeting with people I need to get to these end goals? And then at the end of the week, using that time at the end of Friday afternoon to get out those emails you needed to get out, clean out your inbox, check off those last things on your to-do list so that you're not entering the weekend with all this extra stuff that you might need to do on a Sunday night. Clear it out so you can enjoy the rest of your weekend and have that time for yourself. And then finally, taking breaks. So we were not designed as humans to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. We can't think I think it makes us a little bit less effective if you don't take those breaks. So I think it's super important to carve out time. And that is one of the beauties of working virtually. In fact, the other day, I just had been working on a presentation and I was just losing focus. And so I took a step back and I took a 15-minute break to do a quick virtual yoga stretching session. And it helps me get really refreshed and more focused for what I need to get done for the back half of the day. So use that flexibility to your advantage to make sure that you're taking those breaks. So pivoting now to personal brand. I think this is an interesting thing to think about in the virtual environment, because when we are all in person in meetings, for example, there's all of these there's body language cues and just nonverbal cues you can pick up on in a meeting that give you the signal that, oh, that person is engaged in this conversation, or this person, I don't know if they're tracking with what I'm articulating, and maybe I need to be clear in how I'm communicating this. But we lose a lot of that in this virtual environment. And also you really only see basically shoulders up of everyone. And so I think it's really important to have that as top of mind as you think about driving and championing your personal brand more broadly. So a few thoughts on this. One is, I think, around appearance. Certainly we're all working from home. I'm in my bedroom, as I call my executive office at home. And, I think, it's entirely appropriate, of course, depending on your company, to dress more casually than you would if you're going into the office, but like still put your best self forward and make it look like, you're here to work, and you're here to progress your career, and have that be communicated through how you're showing up for work, really visually, for your meetings. Make sure that your background, whether it's a virtual background or like your room, isn't causing distractions and is setting you up for success. I also think about engagement. So I think it's really important in one-on-one conversations or broader meetings, if you're with leadership or other colleagues, to try to be on video. I think if everyone is on mute and is not on video, it's really hard to tell if the team is interested in what we're talking about, or if there's engagement, if people disagree or agree. And so I think it's important to try to be on video as much as possible, to show that body language and really demonstrate your brand as being an active participant in meetings. Now, all that being said, being on video can admittedly be exhausting. And so my team has a rule that on Fridays, we have no video Fridays. No one is on video. There's just a set expectation, so it's clear. And there's not that awkward, part of the meeting when you're not sure if people are going to be on video or not. It's just a clear set rule. And then finally, talk about this a little bit more on the next slide. But I also think, as we think about championing your personal brand, it's really important to be very proactive in building and maintaining your network. So what does that mean? Again, when I was in the office, it's common to run into someone and learn, oh, that person has moved to a different part of the company, or that person's been promoted. I need to catch up with that person. Haven't seen them in a while. It happens very organically. But when you're in a virtual environment, you have to be very proactive and thoughtful in how you're going to do that. As a personal example, I was on maternity leave when the pandemic started. So when I came back a few months in, there was a lot of movement in the company that I wasn't aware of. And so I thought, okay, I need to write down all of those people that I want to keep in touch with, that I, have connections with, that I need to make sure that I catch up with. And so I made a list of all of those, either former leaders or colleagues or mentors that I wanted to reconnect with, and make sure that I was proactive in getting time on their calendar and nurturing those relationships. And finally, thinking about professional development, thinking about fostering your own professional growth. So, just talked a little bit about nurturing your network. Again, just takes a lot of proactivity there. I also think the visibility piece is important. Honestly, in all of the roles that I've had at American Express, I have been referred to the roles because I was having a casual catch up with someone, mentioned what I was interested in doing, and they said, oh, hey, there's this role on this team, you should apply. And that's honestly how I've been able to get each of my roles at the company. And so I think it's really important to have that visibility and keep a pulse on the organization. I know Meg mentioned that I'm involved in our Hispanic colleague engagement network called OLA, and I cannot speak highly enough about being involved in colleague engagement networks as available at your companies. They offer such tremendous value in growing professionally. I'm actually here today on behalf, or the opportunity was granted to me because of my relationship in the OLA network. And it gave me the opportunity to meet and work with so many different and new colleagues like Melissa, who I might not have had the opportunity to work with. So it really allows you to grow your network and then learn about different areas of the business, and honestly just feel more invested in the company. It's really been a tremendous opportunity. Oftentimes they'll offer informal mentor mentor programs, and that's also just great resources to take advantage of. And then additionally, talking about visibility a little bit more, I think, again, thinking about this organic interaction you get in the office, it would be common to walk in the hallway and I might run into my senior vice president and I could casually mention that, oh, I just had this conversation with a client and we're going to do this really cool new marketing campaign later this year. And I could casually mention that, which is getting visibility for myself, championing my team and the work that we're doing, and then building that relationship. But so that takes more proactivity, I would say. And so I make an effort to schedule skip levels with my senior leadership, just 15 minutes, because I know that their schedules are busy, and twice a year, make sure that I'm having those check-ins outside of the meetings that we might be in together. And then another key thing that I thought about is really around like proactively seeking out different trainings and leadership programs or projects to help upskill you and build your experience. This is certainly true when you're not in a virtual environment, but I think that I think now that so many programs are delivered virtually, it's allowed me personally to participate in so many more programs and opportunities. And I can't speak highly enough of those opportunities. And so I really encourage you to think about what are some of those extra trainings or programs that you want to participate in to build your leadership competencies or refine certain skill sets that you're looking to strengthen. And then lastly, I think it's really important to own your ambition and vocalize it. This is something I've really been focused on for the past couple of years. So what I mean by that is, if you know that you want to get to the next level in the company that you're at, make sure that you're sharing that information with your leaders and with your mentors and with colleagues you catch up with. Make sure that it's known, because driving one's career path is really up to yourself. And so it's really important to make sure that your colleagues and leaders and peers know what your goals are, so that they can think about you for future opportunities, whether it's a leadership program that they want to recommend you for, or an open role, or connecting you with someone to achieve those goals. I think it's really important to be vocal, because people are not mind readers, and you should really own the ambition that you have. So with that, I know I've talked a lot, but wanted to leave you with a few nuggets of tips to be a virtual superstar, so to speak. Again, first, make sure that you're blocking time in your calendar for those mental breaks, whether it's taking a walk outside and getting some fresh air, or even vacuuming, anything to just step away from the computer and have that like mental reset. Second, make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and your best self forward on video, and by engaging in conversations to build and nurture your brand. Additionally, many of you I know might be pivoting in your career. And so joining a new company presents its own challenges in this new environment. And so I think in those situations, it's even more important to be very intentional about building relationships and proactively grabbing time to meet people around the business. Ask your colleagues, hey, who are some people that you would suggest I connect with to talk about XYZ things that I'm interested, or do you know anyone in this area of the business? I'm really curious about learning more, and make those connections and start to build your network in your new company. And then make that list of people that you want to continue to nurture your relationships with, and make sure you're setting reminders to check in with them regularly and continue to nurture that relationship. Maybe there's an article you read that ties to something that one of your mentors is working on, or there's something that you saw that made you think of them. Pass that along and continue those informal engagements. And then finally, really recommend getting involved in colleague engagement networks just to stay connected, meet people from other areas of the business that might have commonalities with you, and really just to remain invested in your growth and in the company. So with that, I did see one question, but maybe we'll hold that till after Melissa shares, and then we can address everyone's questions. So with that, I'll hand it off to Melissa.
Thank you, Dominique. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be chatting with you this afternoon. My name is Melissa Contreras. I'm a campus recruiter with the U.S. Campus Recruitment Team. My home base is out of New York City. I live slightly north in Westchester County, New York. A little bit about my education. I hold a master's degree in higher education administration from TC, Teachers College, Columbia University, my bachelor's from Hofstra University, and my expertise is in full cycle early career talent recruitment. So a lot of the conversation I'm going to be focusing on sort of early talent careers, but hopefully some of the tips and tricks that I provide to you will be helpful no matter where you are in your career. My passions are my little guy, Nate, as you can see, he's very animated, and fitness. My Peloton bike is one of the best investments I've ever made. So I've certainly use it often. And why I love Amex, I'll echo a couple of the comments that Dominique said, and highlight just a few here. The collaborative nature of all of our colleagues. We call each other colleagues. We don't call each other employees. We call each other colleagues, which I think just speaks to the culture of Amex. The opportunity to learn and grow every day. And it truly is an organization that has our colleagues' back. Next slide. Terrific. Thank you so much. So I want to share with you a couple of top tips for virtual interview success. And so let me take you through number one. Stay connected. Stay connected to your career center for those of you who may still be on campus for resume assistance, interview prep, and recruiting events. We're very active virtually, of course, on many college campuses. And we also use the Handshake platform from a college perspective to get information out about our opportunities. So if you are a current student at either the undergraduate or the MBA level, stay connected to your career center. They usually provide wonderful resources on resume tips, on interview prep, mock interviews. All of those are fantastic resources. And here's a pro tip. Stay connected to any companies that you might be interested through LinkedIn. Typically, organization posts current events, kind of news updates through LinkedIn. So stay connected and stay in the know as to what's going on. What might this look like if you're not a college student or currently on campus? Reach out to your network, have a couple of different eyes, take a look at your resume, have a couple of your current colleagues or friends do some mock interviews with you. There's always room for improvement. And practice really does make perfect. From a resume perspective, moving on to number two, your resume is your first impression to recruiters. So it's important to put your best self forward. Pro tip, make sure you're checking your resume for spelling and grammar. A lot of times, if you're looking at that document for over a long time, you might miss something kind of blatant just because your eyes have been locked in on the same document for quite some time. Highlight your leadership experience through student clubs and organizations as well, for those of you joining us who might be college or MBA students. For those of you who are not, any extracurricular or outside of work opportunities that you are part of definitely belong on your resume. If there are any groups or organizations that you're part of and you're passionate about, make sure to list that as well. Now, moving on to interview prep. Would recommend that you practice behavioral interviews and conduct a research through your company page. And make sure to practice those research questions, those interview questions, pardon me. Virtual interviews in this virtual environment can either be a pre-recorded video or a live interview. Typically, the recruiter will let you know what type of interview it is. So if it's a pre-recorded video, what does that look like? Well, you would log into the platform, a question would appear on the screen. You'll typically have a minute or two to prep your response, and then it's go time. There's usually a countdown. Once you go, you respond to the question. You may have an opportunity to re-record, and then you move on to the next question. That's what the pre-recorded video landscape looks like. Now, from a live video interview, of course, you'll have a live colleague on the other end of the line, and you want to make sure, of course, to be punctual. After you've thoroughly prepared for your interview, make sure that you send a thank you note. It goes a long way, and it's certainly appreciated. And number four, from a timeline perspective. So this is going to be really campus recruiting focused. Hopefully it's helpful. So The internship recruitment season is accelerated, and many companies like American Express have concluded interviews from an undergraduate perspective by October or November, and from an MBA perspective by late January. So what does that mean? Be sure to be active and proactive in checking your career sites from your school, checking our career sites if you're interested in any of our opportunities, and submitting your applications early. It's never too early to start. So what does that undergraduate recruitment timeline look like? Well, we're now in the thick of it in September. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're an undergraduate student on the line and interested in summer internship opportunities, that you're engaging with your career services for career prep, for resume prep, and interview prep. That you attend recruiting events, if applicable, all virtual, of course. And if you're interested, to please visit Amex Careers and submit your application by September 30th. What happens next? Well, in October, we begin our first and second round interviews. So we'll go through a thorough review of all resumes for a particular role, make a determination of who we'd like to invite for first round interviews. And typically that first round interview format is behavioral in nature, as we talked about behavioral interview questions before and the importance of being well prepared. Prepping for interviews, again, just wanted to highlight that once more. And then typically from an undergraduate perspective, our offers for the following summer are extended by early November. So you can see by taking a look here that it really is a compressed timeline from an undergraduate recruitment perspective. So in terms of who we're looking for from a graduation date perspective, we consider undergraduate candidates for summer internship programs juniors. I know that can mean different graduation dates at different schools. So typically a junior is defined as a candidate who has a December 2022 through June 2023 bachelor's graduation date. Now, let's take a look at what that looks like from the graduate, master's, or MBA recruitment timeline. So a little bit of a longer, more extended timeline for MBA recruitment. Now, through December 1st, would encourage you to engage with your career services for that resume and interview prep that is very important. Again, you want to attend recruitment events, all virtual, and want to encourage you to submit your application if you're interested in a summer internship at the MBA or master's degree level, to go ahead and submit that application by December 1st, 2021. What happens next? Well, similar to our undergraduate process, we'll go through a very thorough and thoughtful process of reviewing all the resumes for a particular role. Then we'll make a determination as to who we'd like to invite for first round interviews. Much like our undergraduate interviews, those interviews are typically behavioral based. So we want to make sure to remind you to prepare well for those interviews. After first rounds, we will consult and make a determination of who we'd like to invite back for our second or final round interviews. After reviewing the candidate feedback, we'll take a look and make a determination of who we'd like to extend an offer to, typically by late January. So, what kind of roles can you expect at American Express? Now, this is speaking more specifically to a campus level, but I think it's applicable at any stage in your career. We have what we call job families. So you can start your career here at American Express through finance, marketing, technology, product, operations, and risk, and this is just a few. So again, I want to encourage you to take a look, visit us at Amex Careers, and see if any of these opportunities might be of interest to you. I know I talked a lot about summer internship opportunities, but we do also have business units who recruit students from campus that have a December 2021 through June 2022 graduation date, and for our full-time roles that would begin in June of 2022. So Dominique talked a little bit about the culture at American Express and our colleague networks, and I just wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of what these might look like. From a campus level, I like to equate these with what the student groups and organizations might look like at your campus. But ultimately, it's an opportunity to get engaged, to meet folks that you might have not met otherwise. It's a great opportunity to network with other colleagues across the organization. And this is just a snapshot of what that might look like, whether it's OLA, families, pride, women in technology. You can find your place here at American Express. Terrific. Well, I hope you enjoyed that discussion. We're going to open it up now to Q&A.
Great. So I saw that there was one question that came up in the chat from Tina asking whether Amex is more team focused or individual focused. So I can give my perspective on that, and Melissa would love for your thoughts as well. I think Amex is definitely more team focused. So I mentioned that earlier, that it's very much a relationship driven culture. And in order to get anything done, you really need to work with other colleagues across different functions, perhaps. So as an example, in my role in business development, I'm working very closely with our marketing team, our operations team, our risk, fraud teams, finance, and legal compliance, lots of different teams. So very much team focused. But everyone, has their own individual goals, but they tie to broader team-wide goals. So that's what I would say. Melissa, I don't know if you have anything else to add there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll piggyback off of your comment, Dominique. Completely agree with you. And from the campus recruiting perspective, we're really looking for students who can demonstrate examples of that collaborative sort of approach on their resume. So if you have team projects that you've worked on, if you are, actively engaged in clubs and organizations in your school, you took a leadership position, treasurer, social ambassador, et cetera. Those are all things that we're looking for, given the collaborative nature of our organization. We certainly want to hire talent that has demonstrated that in the past.
Great. Another question came through, Melissa, that looks like it might be more geared towards you around technical learners.
Yeah, sure. So here's the question. With more online technical learners, are companies moving towards internships for those of us who are self-taught through online courses and or boot camps? Thanks for the question. We take a holistic approach to resume review. So if you are self-taught, if you have taken these online courses and or boot camps, that's definitely something that we want to see on your resume. As I said, typically from a campus perspective, we're looking for students that are currently enrolled in a bachelor's or master's/MBA degree. But if you're looking at our experienced level opportunities, be sure to provide that information on your resume, as that lens might look a little bit different for someone who has years of experience under their belt versus an undergraduate student in the third year or an MBA student looking for a campus opportunity.
Great. And thank you, Lisa, for the shout out around about presenting. I think we can take that away, and hopefully you can share your information with Meg, and we can look into having some learning more about the opportunity at your school.
I think next question is for me as well. So for big corps like Amex, how should applicants create their resumes to get past the ATS software? So I can speak from a campus recruitment perspective. We look through every resume that is eligible for the opportunity. So there isn't a software that is kind of rejecting, if you will, candidates before we even have a look at the resume. At the campus level, we do feel that it's important to have a look, typically either one or two recruiters, to have a look through each resume. So that's something that you can anticipate that we're looking through. As I said, it's very thoughtful and deliberate in approach, intentional approach as well to reviewing the resumes for our opportunities. Thanks for the question.
And Meg, I don't know if you want, I think we've addressed all the questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to join and we can do some of the other Q&A if that works.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Let me see here. I'm going through, oh, I see we have a couple more questions coming in. Okay. So Tina had asked, can you expand on skip levels? Do you make known your goals on seeking a promotion or another role to colleagues?
Yes, definitely. I can definitely first. So when I say skip level, and I realize that might be an Amex term because we have lots of lingo at Amex. But when I say skip level, I think about meeting with someone who's above your own direct boss or leader, as we call them. So in my case, it would be my senior vice president. My boss reports to that person. And yes, I make it very known that I'm looking to get promoted. And at Amex, promotions typically involve applying for a new role at that higher level. It's, I would say, less common to then be getting promoted into your within your existing job. And so I have very open conversations around, okay, my goal is to become a vice president at some point. What do you need to see to know that I'm ready for that? Because even if I am applying for that job within another team, I definitely want my leaders and my senior leaders support and endorsement in getting that job. And so, because it's common, and I think an expectation, at least at Amex, that you're going to have your leader send a note saying, yes, I fully advocate for this person, and this person has support for promotion.
Awesome. Okay. And thank you for diving into, because I know there's a lot of terminology that's very specific to different companies. So thank you so much for diving into that for us. All right. So what else do we have here? So Debbie had asked, does Amex have a returnship program for those who've taken a break have taken a career break and are now returning to the workforce? So this has been a really hot topic with our community lately. Does Amex have anything like that in practice now or in plans for the future?
So not at the moment, but I think that's a great comment that was called out and something that we can certainly take away as we consider kind of future talent pipelines. So thank you for that recommendation and for the comment.
So if you are a returner, like a career returner, and looking to find a role with Amex, is there any way to call that out, in your cover letter or in your interview? Is that something that Amex values? Is that all of the experience that comes with a returning employee?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you'll see on our Amex career sites, there are opportunities at the experienced level that actually do require a cover letter, that may require a cover letter. And that's a great place to, fill in or to explain any gaps, to call out anytime you may have taken a break or are returning to the workforce. That's a great opportunity for you to kind of articulate all of those things.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. All right, so I'm going to keep pulling from the chat thread here. If you have questions and you want to get them answered, make sure you ask them. I know we have about 15 minutes left in the session, but we do try and save a little bit of time at the end for wrap up. Plus, we got to leave about a minute or two early so that I can jump over and host the networking session. But until then, please make sure you get your questions in so that you don't miss out before time runs out with the Amex team here. All right, so Hunter had a really good question. Hunter wanted to know, is Amex solely looking for students? For individuals that are outside of school or looking to apply outside of the resources provided from a school, what steps should they take to apply? And obviously, part of the focus of Amex's presentation today was based on the theme for the September Summit, which was about early career connections and mid-career pivots. So just as a baseline for that would be why we talked about this to start with. But let's talk about Amex's needs outside of the student population or the recent grad population.
Yep, great question, Hunter. So to clarify, no, we're not only solely looking for students. That is my focus in my role. And as a campus recruiter, definitely had to give our campus kind of shout out. But please visit our Amex Careers site. We list all of our job opportunities there, from campus to experience hires. We are not solely looking for students to fill our talent pipelines. Please be sure to take a look on our Amex Careers and apply.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll go in and I'll grab the link for Amex's company page as well on powertofly.com. I'll share that out with y'all so that way you can take a look at what's going on with Amex through Power2Fly. Okay, so Anna had another question. Can you touch on some of the mentorship options or mentorship opportunities available for interns or new associates?
Sure, I can take that one. Thanks for the question, Anna. So as part of our internship program, our interns are paired with a buddy. And typically the buddy is another member of your team. This colleague may be just kind of a few years out from school, relatively junior as well in their role, because we want you to have a sort of peer, someone that you can ask questions about, questions that you might feel perhaps a little intimidated to ask your manager about. When we were in the tower, a common question was, what elevator bank should I take? Really questions like that, the sort of day-to-day questions that you might not feel comfortable as an intern just asking your manager. Your buddy is meant to be a peer, and your buddy is also meant to be a sort of guide for you throughout the summer. So throughout the summer, our interns work on a project, on a business project, and then ultimately they present that project to their team at the end of the summer. It's certainly not busy work. It is a critical business need sort of project, and you work with your buddy as well as with your other interns in order to deliver that by the end of the summer.
And I can also add on to that. So I think a couple of things I came to Amex, as I mentioned, through the MBA internship program. And if you are coming as a student, I think it's such an incredible opportunity to access your alumni network at the company. So using New York University as an example, there are hundreds, probably thousands of NYU alumni at the company. And so as an intern, I would honestly, there's I would say greater flexibility to just email someone that you have no connection with and say, hey, I understand you're an NYU alumni. I'm an intern. I would love to connect with you throughout your career path. And I was blown away by how willing people were at all levels to connect and talk. And I would say that remains true, even if you're not coming in as a student. If you're a new associate, Amex is very much, one of the things that I love most is you're encouraged at American Express to move around the company. And, I'm a perfect example. I've worked in our merchant services group, our commercial services group, and now network services. I've held client management roles, product management role, and now lead a team. And so I think there's investment in people's professional development. And with that, there's a major willingness across the board to mentor and meet with people. And so I would say that even if there's not there are formal programs, but even if there isn't a formal program in your group, or if you're not involved in a colleague engagement network that supports that, there's always a willingness amongst Amex colleagues to support others and new colleagues.
That's so nice. I love to hear that, because you're right. Formal programs are great, but I think it also speaks to the company culture that this is also like kind of an unstructured and informal practice at the company. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, so we got more great questions coming in, so I'm going to keep trying to get through some of these before we run out of time today. Let's see. Leslie had wanted to know if you need a bachelor's degree to apply for a position. So this is a good question, since some people are coming into the workforce either in progress with a degree, or they are coming out of a field where they didn't require a degree. So what is the Amex position on this? Is a degree basically required for a certain level of job and above, or what does Amex? How do you all proceed on this?
Sure, I can take that one. So it will vary by role, and it'll be clearly stated on the job description whether or not a bachelor's degree is required. From the campus recruiting perspective, you must either be currently enrolled in an undergraduate or master's/MBA program to be considered for a campus role. But if you are an experienced hire or an experienced candidate, have a look on the job description. It'll clearly list if the bachelor's degree is a requirement of the role. So to answer that question, it may vary.
Okay, that's great. All right, let's move on. Tina had a question. If you had any interview tips at the virtual job fair tomorrow for experienced professionals, aside from knowing what job you want to apply to. And I think this is a great time to A, revisit the fact that we're having a virtual job fair tomorrow, B, it's free, and C, Amex is going to be there. So if you are curious about this, make sure you jump in. I think Mariella is moderating the Amex room. She's wonderful. So y'all will have a really great time there. But I just want to highlight that in case you haven't done our virtual job fair before, or in case you haven't done any virtual job fairs before, just know that the sessions tomorrow are going to be in like groups. So you don't have to do like a formal interview process or anything like that. I'm really interested to see what tips y'all have, since hopefully we'll have many Power to Fly success stories coming out of tomorrow's virtual job fair. So what kind of interview tips can would be of use to people that are going to interview with Amex at a later date?
I can take that one. So I'm probably going to sound like a broken record. I know I said this in my presentation, but I do want to stress the importance of preparing for your interview. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that we are expecting you to know every acronym that Amex uses, every business unit, not to that level of detail, certainly, but you want to be well prepared, that you understand what Amex does as a company, that for the role that you are applying to, a quick Google search can give you some additional information on what may be some of the key skills and qualities that we're looking for that particular role. I'll call out a few that are important for us from a campus perspective, but it can certainly be applicable at every level of your interview process. So I want to call out analytical skills. Now, this is important, not just if you are applying to maybe a very technical role, but you want to just bring out a couple of examples of your analytical skills, no matter what role you are applying to, how you might have managed large amounts of data, or how you might have spotted trends or meaningful insights. Just the ability to kind of process and gather and process information and then make a recommendation based on that data, I think is applicable in any sort of role. Also, communication skills. So in a very collaborative culture, you're going to be communicating with a lot of folks, whether it's our internal colleagues, whether it's external facing clients. Want to make sure that you are demonstrating your strength in communication skills. And I think that that is applicable in any role at any level within the organization. And then lastly, actually two more. I had four ready for you guys. But want to talk about an agile mindset. So being positive, a can-do attitude. Are you able to pivot when something unexpected comes your way? Because it will come your way, something unexpected. So you should be able to have an example of how you've navigated an instance like that. And as I said, at the campus, it's not specific to the campus level. I think for any role you apply for, that would be a great example to have ready for your conversation. And then lastly, leadership. So even if you're not, have experience from a sort of people leadership background, if you've never had direct reports, that is not the only way that you demonstrate leadership. Examples of how you've acted with courage, how you've built relationships, how you've made decisions quickly, how you've been able to influence a group, even if you weren't the manager or the clearly appointed leader. I think that's a great example to have ready in your conversations with whomever you're interviewing with for the role that you're interested in.
Excellent. Okay, so we have, let's say, about 3 minutes left. Let's get to one more. If you okay, so Adriana wants to know if you apply to a position and you're not qualified for that position, but the recruiter who looks over your application thinks that you might be a great fit for a different open position. Is that something, do Amex recruiters share that across teams? Is it a situation where like they're going to try and find you a good fit?
Yeah,
go ahead. Let's start with that. Sorry.
Great. And that's a very common practice to meet a great candidate. Perhaps they've applied for one position, and if they are a great fit for another role, that's something that's very common within recruiters to kind of share candidates in that way. Ultimately, we have one common goal, which is to recruit top talent to the organization. So if I'm the recruiter on one particular role, but I see a candidate that might be a better fit for another one, that is something that's very common, that we are consulting each other and communicating with each other. And if the candidate, of course, is interested in considering the other role, passing them along to the appropriate recruiter for consideration.
Okay, awesome. Last question that I think we're going to be able to get to. Angela had asked, are campus recruiting jobs posted on LinkedIn, or are they completely separate?
So they're not posted. Our campus recruiting roles are not posted on LinkedIn. They are posted through our Amex career site. So if you see a posting from me, find me on LinkedIn, by the way, Melissa Contreras. If you see a posting by me on LinkedIn, it's driving students, because my post will be typically about students, it's driving students back to Amex Careers. But that's true for all of our roles. If you visit Amex Careers, you'll be able to find all of our roles there.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna do like real quick before we have to jump off here for time. I just want to highlight real quick. We shared a few links in the chat. One is to where you can register for the virtual job fair tomorrow. Your ticket from our Diversity Reboot Summit gives you free entry to tomorrow's job fair. I also shared the link of where you can follow Amex's company page on powertofly.com. That does a couple of things for you, but basically what it does is it works like your friend at the company. So it tells Amex that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. It also alerts you when they post new roles. So it kind of helps keep you on Amex's radar and Amex on your radar. But that's also a really great thing to take advantage of if you are actively looking for jobs, but there's nothing like immediately that seems to suit you from Amex. I would definitely click that because, like I said, it'll keep you updated when they post new roles. So that way you don't have to feel like you're constantly coming back to job boards and refreshing and hoping something changes. So that's a couple of things I wanted to highlight for you. Last, I want to say a huge thank you to the Amex team. Y'all brought a crazy, like amazing presentation today. I've had a lot of fun sitting in listening, and I listen to a lot of these. So a lot of it is, you know, stuff that I love hearing from our partner companies. So thank you so much for being such amazing partners, and as well as, you know, taking the time out of your day to spend with us and, you know, share your expertise and, you know, share some great information about Amex.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you. I hope
Thank you,
everybody has
everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.